My beloved child, come closer. There is something I must tell you now, and you cannot ignore it. This is not noise. This is not coincidence. This is not just another message scrolling past your eyes. This is me reaching into your moment. You have been feeling it, haven't you? A quiet shift, a subtle emptiness, a sense that something is missing, yet you cannot fully name it. You go through your days, you handle your responsibilities, you smile when needed, but deep inside, there is a question echoing. Why does something feel off? My child, hear me gently but clearly. Missing this changes everything. Not your job, not your status, not your past mistakes, not even the people who walked away. There is one thing, one sacred connection, that, when overlooked, slowly alters your peace, your clarity, your strength. It does not happen loudly. It happens quietly, like a lamp that still stands tall but is slowly running out of oil. And I say this not to frighten you but to awaken you, because I love you too much to let you drift without warning. You have been trying to hold everything together. You have been carrying weight you were never designed to carry alone. You have been searching for answers in places that only give temporary relief. And all the while, I have been whispering your name. This warning is not punishment. It is protection. It is the loving voice of your Father saying, do not miss what keeps you alive inside. Stay with me, my beloved. Do not scroll past this moment in your spirit. What I am about to reveal will shift the ground beneath your feet, not to make you fall, but to help you finally stand. Now listen closely, my beloved child. Let me show you something tender and true. Drifting does not happen in a storm. It happens on calm waters. You do not wake up one morning and decide to walk away from peace. You do not plan to feel distant from me. It begins softly. A skipped moment of stillness. A delaying prayer. A heart that says, I will come back later. And later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And before you realize it, the warmth you once felt so clearly begins to feel faint. This is the subtle drift. It is not rebellion. It is not hatred. It is simply distraction. You live in a world that competes for your attention every second. Voices shout. Screens glow. Responsibilities multiply. People expect. Deadlines press. And in the middle of all of it, my whisper feels quiet. Easy to postpone. Easy to replace with something that feels urgent. But my child, what is urgent is not always what is important. You begin to rely on your own strength more than you realize. You tell yourself you are managing. You convince yourself you are fine. And outwardly, you may look fine. You are functioning. You are achieving. You are surviving. But inside, something begins to thin. Joy feels harder to access. Gratitude feels forced. Rest does not truly refresh you. Even your victories feel strangely empty. You cannot explain it, because nothing dramatic has happened. There was no great fall. No loud failure. Only distance. Imagine a boat untied from the dock. It does not chew away at high speed. It moves inch by inch, carried by currents it did not choose. At first, the shore is still visible. The house lights still glow nearby. The dock still feels close enough to swim back to. But the longer the drift continues, the farther it goes. This is why I speak now. Not because you have gone too far, but because I love you enough to notice even a few inches of movement. You were not created to run on empty reserves. You were not designed to manufacture peace on your own. You were formed with a heart that beats best when it beats in rhythm with mine. And when that rhythm weakens, everything else begins to strain. Decisions feel heavier. Small problems feel overwhelming. You react more quickly, worry more deeply, and rest less fully. You wonder why patience is thinner than it used to be. You wonder why hope feels fragile. My beloved, nothing is wrong with you. You are simply trying to live disconnected from the source of your strength. And I do not say this with anger. I say it with compassion. A father does not scold a child for being tired after wandering too far. He opens his arms and says, "Come back. Rest here." The drift is subtle because it disguises itself as independence. It whispers, "You can handle this alone." It tells you that you must prove your strength. It convinces you that slowing down to be with me is a luxury you cannot afford. But the truth is the opposite. You cannot afford to miss me. Every time you push through exhaustion without inviting me in, you grow more weary. Every time you silence the nudge in your spirit, the world grows louder. Every time you choose noise over stillness, clarity fades just a little more. And yet, even in the drift, I have not moved. I am still where you left me. I am still speaking, still guiding, still watching over you with fierce love. The distance you feel is not because I stepped away. It is because you have been carried by currents you did not notice. But listen carefully, you are not lost. A boat can be retied. A heart can be realigned. A rhythm can be restored. All it takes is awareness. That is why this warning matters. Not to shame you, not to frighten you, but to awaken you before the drift becomes a storm. You are still close enough to hear my voice. You are still near enough to feel my presence if you will pause long enough to notice it. Come back into the stillness, my child. Come back into the quiet place where you do not have to perform, achieve, or impress anyone. Come back to the place where you are simply mine, and I am simply your father. The drift ends the moment you turn your heart toward me. And when you do, you will discover that I was never far away at all. My beloved child, now I will speak plainly to you. The one thing you must not miss is my presence. Not religion, not routine, not performance, and not the outward appearance of faith that others can see. Those things may have their place, but they are not the center. They are not the heartbeat. They are not the breath in your lungs. I am. My presence is the difference between surviving and living. It is the difference between striving and flowing. It is the difference between carrying burdens alone and walking with divine strength beside you. You can have knowledge and still feel empty. You can have success and still feel restless. You can have people around you and still feel alone. Because what your soul was designed to crave is not applause, not achievement, not even understanding. It craves me. There was a time when you felt me more easily, wasn't there? A time when peace came quicker, when prayer felt natural, when gratitude rose without effort. You did not have everything figured out back then. Your life may not have been perfect, but there was a sweetness in your spirit. That sweetness was connection. Imagine a branch connected to a tree. As long as it remains attached, life flows naturally through it. Leaves grow. Fruit appears. Strength remains. The branch does not strain to produce. It does not force nourishment into itself. It simply stays connected. But when a branch is cut off, it may still look whole for a while. The leaves may stay green for a short season. From a distance, nothing seems wrong. Yet slowly, quietly, life drains away. My beloved, you are not meant to operate disconnected from me. When my presence becomes secondary, everything else begins to carry weight it was never meant to carry. Your job becomes your identity. Your relationships become your source of validation. Your achievements become your measure of worth. And when any of those things shake, your foundation trembles. But when my presence is central, everything else finds its proper place. Work becomes service, not survival. Relationships become blessings, not lifelines. Achievements become expressions of purpose, not proof of value. You begin to live from security instead of striving for it. This is why missing my presence changes everything. It is not because I demand attention. It is because you were designed for communion. I shaped your heart with a space that only my love can fill. And when you try to fill that space with distraction, with busyness, with temporary pleasures, it never fully satisfies. You may distract yourself for a while. You may silence the ache with entertainment, ambition, or even good deeds. But at the end of the day, when the noise quiets and you are alone with your thoughts, that subtle longing returns. That longing is not weakness. It is an invitation. I do not want visits from you that feel rushed and forced. I want your real heart. I want your tired sighs, your unfiltered questions, your honest tears. I want the moments when you do not know what to say. I want the silence where you simply sit and let yourself be loved. My presence is not complicated. It is not reserved for special places or perfect moods. It is available in your car, in your kitchen, in the middle of your hardest day. It is found in a whispered "help me," in a quiet "thank you," in a surrendered "I trust you." When you return to my presence, you begin to see clearly again. Decisions feel lighter because you are not making them alone. Fear loosens its grip because you remember who walks beside you. Even pain becomes different because it is carried with hope instead of isolation. You see now why this matters so deeply. Missing my presence is not about missing a ritual. It is about missing the very oxygen of your soul. But hear me clearly. You have not missed it beyond recovery. I am not hiding from you. I am not waiting for you to earn your way back. The door to my presence is not locked. It has never been closed. If anything, I have been standing there, gently knocking at your awareness, waiting for you to notice. Right now, in this very moment, you can turn your heart toward me. You do not need perfect words. You do not need dramatic emotion. You only need willingness. The one thing you must not miss is not a rule. It is relationship. And when you choose that relationship again, when you choose to center your life around my presence, you will watch as everything else begins to realign. Peace will feel natural. Strength will rise quietly within you. Purpose will sharpen. Because where my presence is welcomed, life begins again. My beloved child, let me tell you a story. There once was a lamp placed in a small home on a quiet hill. It was beautifully crafted. Its frame was polished. Its glass was clear. Anyone who walked into that house could see it sitting proudly on the table. From the outside, it looked ready to shine at any moment. But there was one problem. The lamp had no oil. Each evening, when darkness crept over the hills and the wind pressed gently against the windows, the owner of the house would reach to light the lamp. The wick was there. The flame was ready. But without oil, the lamp could not burn. It had everything except the one thing that mattered. My beloved, you are that lamp. You have gifts. You have talents. You have intelligence. You have experience. You have strength that others admire. From the outside, you look capable and prepared. People see your frame. They see your polish. They see your efforts. But without my presence, Without the oil of intimacy with me, your light cannot burn the way it was meant to. Oil is not visible from a distance. It is hidden inside the lamp, and no one applauds the oil, and no one compliments it. Yet it is the very substance that sustains the flame. In the same way, your quiet moments with me may seem small. They may seem unnoticed by others. They may not earn you recognition, but they are the oil that keeps your soul alive. When you neglect that oil, you may still appear strong for a time. You may continue to function. You may even achieve success. But when true darkness comes, when disappointment strikes, when fear whispers, when uncertainty clouds your path, you will reach for light and find only smoke. And I do not want you standing in the dark, wondering why your strength feels gone. The world will tell you to focus on the outer frame, improve your image, sharpen your skills, expand your influence. And these things are not evil. But if they come at the expense of your oil, you are building a lamp that cannot shine. Let me tell you something gentle and powerful. I care more about your oil than your appearance. Oil is formed slowly, is pressed, refined, prepared over time. It is created in hidden places. In the same way, intimacy with me grows in quiet moments, in whispered prayers before sunrise, in surrender during confusion, in gratitude during ordinary days. Oil accumulates drop by drop. Every time you pause and invite me into your thoughts, a drop is added. Every time you choose trust over panic, another drop fills the reservoir. Every time you sit in stillness instead of running toward distraction, your lamp grows richer within. But when busyness takes over, when noise replaces stillness, when self-reliance overshadows dependence on me, the oil begins to run low. You may not notice it at first. The lamp still stands. The wick is still there. But when you need light most, you will discover what has been missing. My warning is not about shame. It is about preparation. Darkness visits every life. Challenges come. Seasons shift. Unexpected winds blow against your carefully arranged plans. I do not promise a life without night, but I promise that when your lamp is full of oil, the night will not overpower you. Your light will remain steady. Imagine a storm outside that little house on the hill. Rain falls hard. Thunder shakes the sky. The world beyond the windows feels chaotic and uncertain. But inside, a lamp filled with oil burns warmly, casting steady light across the room. The storm may rage, but the home is not swallowed by darkness. This is what my presence does for you. It does not remove every storm, but it keeps your flame alive within it. My beloved child, ask yourself gently, is your lamp full? Or have you been relying on yesterday's oil? You cannot borrow intimacy. You cannot live on old encounters forever. Each day invites new filling. Each season invites deeper connection. And here is the beautiful truth. I am the one who provides the oil. You do not have to manufacture it. You do not have to strain to create it. When you come to me with an open heart, I fill you. When you seek me sincerely, I replenish what has been drained. When you admit your emptiness, I respond with abundance. Do not wait for the darkness to expose what is lacking. Come now. Sit with me. Speak with me. Listen for me. Let me pour fresh oil into your weary soul. Because when your lamp is filled with my presence, no night can steal your light. My beloved child, now let me show you why missing my presence changes everything. When you try to live without me at the center, the shift does not always look dramatic. It often looks reasonable, logical. even strong. But beneath the surface, your foundation begins to move. Without me, decisions slowly become fear-based. You start asking, what if this fails? Instead of, where are you leading me? You calculate outcomes based only on what you can see. You measure risk without remembering who holds your future. And fear, even in small amounts, begins to guide your steps. Fear is subtle. It can disguise itself as wisdom. It can sound like caution. But when it becomes your primary voice, it shrinks your world. It convinces you to play small. It persuades you to avoid obedience if it feels uncomfortable. When I am at the center, courage rises naturally. Not because you feel powerful, but because you know I am. Without me, anxiety replaces peace. You may still smile. You may still accomplish tasks. But inside, your mind races. Thoughts loop. Scenarios multiply. You rehearse conversations that have not happened. You imagine problems that may never come. You try to quiet the noise with distraction, with work, with entertainment, with scrolling. But when the room grows quiet, the noise returns. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the awareness of my presence. When you are anchored in me, uncertainty does not crush you. You may not know every detail, but you trust the one who does. You stop carrying tomorrow as if it depends entirely on your strength. Without me, purpose becomes unclear. You begin to chase goals without knowing why. You pursue achievements that do not truly satisfy. You compare yourself to others and feel either superior or inferior, but rarely secure. You look for validation in applause, in numbers, in recognition. And even when you achieve what you thought would fulfill you, there is still a quiet question inside. Is this all? That question is not dissatisfaction with your blessings. It is your soul longing for alignment. When I am central in your life, purpose is not something you scramble to define. It unfolds. It becomes less about proving yourself and more about expressing who you are in me. You stop striving to matter because you already know you do. Without me, your burdens feel heavier than they truly are. You wake up already tired. You carry responsibilities as if they rest entirely on your shoulders. You feel pressure to hold everything together, your work, your relationships, your future. And when something cracks, you blame yourself. But you were never meant to be your own foundation. Imagine trying to hold up a house with your bare hands. You might manage for a moment. You might brace yourself and endure. But eventually, your strength will fail. When I am your foundation, you do not have to hold the house alone. I carry what you cannot. I support what you cannot see. I steady what feels unstable. Everything changes without me because you were designed with me in mind. A fish may admire the land. It may attempt to survive outside of water. For a short time, it may even move. But it will struggle for breath. Not because it is weak, but because it is outside its design. You were created to breathe my presence. When you live apart from me, even partially, you feel that spiritual shortness of breath. You may not recognize it at first. You may call it stress. You may call it burnout. You may call it confusion. But at its core, it is disconnection. And I say this gently, not to accuse you, but to invite you back into alignment. My beloved, I am not an accessory to your life. I am not a final option when everything else fails. I am not a small compartment you visit on certain days. I am the source from which your clarity flows. I am the strength behind your endurance. I am the peace beneath your decisions. When you place me first, everything else does not disappear. It finds order. Fear loses its authority. Anxiety loses its grip. Purpose sharpens. Rest deepens. Even your challenges become opportunities for growth instead of threats to your stability. This is why I warned you. Not because I demand attention, but because I know what happens when you try to live without the one who formed you. Everything changes without me, but everything can change again when you return. Come back to the center, my child. Place me where I belong, not as an obligation but as your life source. And watch how your heart steadies, how your mind clears, how your steps grow confident again. You were never meant to do this alone. My beloved child, I do not always shout when something is wrong. Sometimes I whisper through symptoms. Before a tree falls, its leaves begin to fade. Before a well runs dry, the water level lowers quietly. In the same way, before your soul feels completely exhausted, there are gentle warning signs. I place them there not to frighten you, but to alert you. One of the first signs is the loss of joy. You still laugh. You still smile. But the deep, steady joy that once lived in you feels distant. Things that used to light you up now feel heavy. Gratitude feels harder to access. You remember a time when hope felt natural, but now it feels like something you must force. This is not because you are ungrateful. It is because your soul is running low on oil. Another sign is constant exhaustion. Not just physical tiredness, but a deeper weariness. You wake up already drained. Even after rest, you do not feel restored. Your body may be still, but your mind continues racing. You carry an invisible weight that you cannot quite name. My child, when you try to live disconnected from my presence, you draw from your own limited reserves. And no matter how strong you think you are, your strength has limits. Mine does not. There is also the quiet numbness that sometimes settles in. You feel detached from your own emotions. You move through your days on autopilot. You respond to situations but without the depth you once had. You may even ask yourself, why don't I feel anything? Numbness is not weakness. It is often a protective response to prolonged strain. When you carry too much for too long without resting in me, your heart tries to protect itself by shutting down. But you were not created to live numb. I formed you with a heart that feels deeply, a spirit that responds to beauty, a soul that resonates with purpose. When that sensitivity begins to dull, it is not a flaw, it is a signal. Sometimes the warning appears as irritation. Small things frustrate you more than they should. Patience becomes thin. You react quickly and regret it later. You wonder why you feel so on edge. You tell yourself to calm down, but the tension lingers. This is what happens when inner peace is replaced with inner pressure. You were designed to operate from rest, not from strain. Another sign is the fading of clarity. Decisions that once felt simple now feel overwhelming. You second-guess yourself constantly. You seek reassurance from everyone because you no longer trust your inner compass. When you are anchored in me, clarity flows more easily. Not because you know everything, but because you trust my guidance. But when you drift, your thoughts become crowded. Doubt multiplies. Fear speaks louder than faith. These are not punishments. They are loving alerts. Imagine a father watching his child walk toward a cliff while distracted. He does not wait until the fall. He calls out early. He warns gently but urgently. Not to embarrass the child, but to protect them. My warnings are always rooted in love. I do not expose your weakness to shame you. I reveal it so I can heal it. If you have recognized yourself in these signs, if you have felt the loss of joy, the deep exhaustion, the numbness, the irritation, the confusion, do not condemn yourself. Simply become aware. Awareness is the beginning of restoration. The moment you admit something feels off, you open the door for change. The moment you acknowledge, I cannot do this alone, you invite my strength back into your life. My beloved, you do not have to wait until you collapse to return to me. You do not have to reach a breaking point before seeking my presence. I would rather restore you in the early signs than rebuild you after burnout. Come to me while the leaves are just beginning to fade. Come to me while the well still holds water. Come to me while your lamp still has a flicker. Let me refill you before the darkness deepens. I am not disappointed in you. I am attentive to you. I see the subtle shifts. I feel the heaviness you tried to hide. I understand the silent battles in your mind. And I am not standing at a distance with crossed arms. I am leaning toward you, ready to restore what has begun to thin. Listen to the signs, my child. They are not threats. They are invitations back to life. My beloved child, there is something you must understand about the times you are living in. The greatest battle for your soul is not always a battle of belief. It is a battle of attention. The enemy of your peace does not always try to destroy you openly. Often, it simply tries to distract you quietly. Because if your attention is constantly pulled in 1,000 directions, your awareness of me grows dim. Distraction is subtle. It does not announce itself as danger. It comes dressed as urgency, as productivity, as harmless entertainment, as endless information. It fills your hours with activity until stillness feels uncomfortable. And in that constant noise, my whisper can be drowned out. I do not compete with chaos. I do not force my voice over every other sound. I speak with steadiness, with gentleness. I speak in ways that require you to lean in. But when your mind is always racing, when your hands are always busy, when your eyes are always scanning for the next thing, you stop leaning. You skim through your days instead of living them. Think of your attention as a garden. Whatever you water grows. If you water fear, fear extends. If you water comparison, insecurity deepens. If you water outrage, anger multiplies. And if you rarely water your connection with me, that relationship begins to weaken. You were not created to process endless noise. Your mind was designed for focus. Your heart was designed for depth. But the world encourages fragmentation and trains you to switch tasks rapidly, to consume constantly, to react instantly. And slowly, your inner world becomes restless. You may tell yourself that you will spend time with me after everything else is done. But everything else is never done. There is always one more notification, one more task, one more distraction that feels small but steals a few more minutes. And minutes become hours. Hours become days. This is how attention is lost. Not in rebellion, but in replacement. You do not stop loving me. You simply give your focus elsewhere. And whatever holds your focus begins to shape your thoughts. Whatever shapes your thoughts begins to influence your emotions. And your emotions begin to direct your choices. Do you see how powerful attention is? If your attention is constantly consumed by worry, you begin to feel anxious. If your attention is absorbed by comparison, you begin to feel inadequate. If your attention is fixed on problems, you begin to feel overwhelmed. But when your attention turns toward me, even briefly, something shifts. Peace enters. Clarity returns. Perspective widens. The same problems may still exist, but they no longer dominate your inner world, because your focus is anchored in something greater. My beloved, distraction is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the slow erosion of stillness. You forget how to sit quietly. You forget how to breathe deeply. You forget how to listen without planning your next move. You forget how to be with me without an agenda. And yet, I am not far. Even in your busiest days, I am present. Even when your thoughts are scattered, I am steady. But I long for your attention not because I need it, but because you do. Attention is the doorway to intimacy. You cannot experience deep connection with someone you rarely focus on. In the same way, your relationship with me deepens when you intentionally turn your awareness toward me. It does not require hours of ritual. It requires willingness. A moment of gratitude while you drive. A quiet breath before responding in frustration. A whispered prayer in the middle of confusion. A pause before making a decision. These small acts reclaim your attention. When you guard your focus, you guard your peace. When you choose stillness over constant noise, you strengthen your spirit. My child, ask yourself gently, what has been holding your attention lately? What voices have you allowed to speak the loudest? What patterns have been shaping your thoughts? This is not a question of guilt. It is a question of alignment. If you feel scattered, return your focus to me. If you feel overwhelmed, redirect your gaze. If you feel distant, pause long enough to notice my presence. I am not hidden behind complicated rituals. I am found in attention. And when you reclaim your focus and give it back to me, you will discover that clarity was never far away. My beloved child, I need you to understand something that will reshape the way you see your life. You were not created merely to survive. You were not formed just to endure pain, push through exhaustion, and make it to the end of each day barely standing. Survival may be necessary in certain seasons, but it was never meant to be your permanent state. I designed you to thrive. Thriving does not mean a life without difficulty. It does not mean constant ease or endless comfort. It means living with inner strength, clarity, and purpose even in the middle of challenges. It means your roots are deep enough that storms do not uproot you. When you are disconnected from me, survival becomes your focus. You wake up thinking, how do I get through today? You measure success by simply making it to tomorrow. You lower your expectations for joy because you assume exhaustion is normal. But exhaustion as a lifestyle is not my design for you. Imagine a garden planted with care. The soil is rich. The sun shines. Water is available. The seeds are full of potential. If those plants barely cling to life, something is wrong. They were meant to grow tall, to bloom, to produce fruit. You are that garden. When my presence nourishes you, growth is natural. You begin to see opportunities instead of only obstacles. You begin to take steps with confidence instead of constant hesitation. Your creativity awakens. Your compassion deepens. Your resilience strengthens. Thriving happens when you are aligned with me. Without alignment, even blessings can feel burdensome. Success feels hollow. Relationships feel strained. Rest feels incomplete. You may achieve much, yet feel little satisfaction. This is because thriving is not rooted in external circumstances. It is rooted in internal connection. When you walk closely with me, your identity stabilizes. You stop defining yourself by temporary outcomes. You no longer panic when something shifts unexpectedly. You understand that your value is anchored in something eternal. And from that stability, boldness grows. My beloved, There are dreams in your heart that you have pushed aside because survival demanded all your energy. There are ideas you have silenced because you felt too tired to pursue them. There are parts of your personality that have grown quiet because you were focused only on coping. But I did not create you to merely cope. I created you with vision. You have gifts that are meant to be expressed. You have influence that is meant to be used. You have a light that is meant to shine brightly, not flicker weakly in constant struggle. When you center your life around my presence, your energy shifts. You are no longer pulling strength from fear or pressure. You are drawing from an endless source. Your efforts become empowered. Your rest becomes restorative. Your work becomes meaningful. Thriving also means peace that is not easily shaken. When challenges arise, you respond instead of react. When uncertainty appears, you trust instead of panic. When setbacks occur, you learn instead of collapse. This is the life I desire for you. Not perfection, not constant success, but steady growth. You may say, but my circumstances are difficult. I know they are. I see them clearly. I do not ignore your reality. Yet even in difficult soil, roots can grow deep. Even in harsh seasons, resilience can form. Thriving is not the absence of hardship. It is the presence of my strength within it. When you reconnect with me fully, you will begin to notice subtle changes. Your thoughts will grow clearer. Your emotions will stabilize. Your motivation will rise. Not because everything around you changed instantly, but because something within you realigned. Survival shrinks your vision. Thriving expands it. I want you to lift your eyes again. To believe that more is possible than just getting by. To remember that you are not here by accident. Your life carries purpose beyond what you currently see. But that purpose flourishes best when rooted in me. My beloved child, stop settling for a life that only endures. Step back into the rhythm of my presence. Allow me to nourish what has felt dry. Allow me to strengthen what has felt weak. You were created to grow, to shine, to impact, to love deeply and live boldly. And when you walk with me at the center, you will not just survive your days. You will begin to truly live them. My beloved child, every life has a turning point. It is not always loud. It does not always come with thunder or dramatic signs. Often, it arrives quietly, like this moment right now. A pause, a realization, a gentle awareness that something must shift. You have been walking, striving, surviving, adjusting. You have been doing your best with what you know. But deep inside, there is a sense that you are standing at a crossroads. One path continues as it has been, busy, distracted, managing, coping. The other path leads back to intimacy, back to alignment, back to me at the center. This is your turning point. The warning I gave you was not to alarm you. It was to awaken you before the drift carried you further. A loving father does not wait until the child is lost beyond sight. He calls while the child can still hear his voice. Right now, you can hear me. And that means you are not far. Turning points are powerful because they require awareness and choice. Awareness without action changes nothing. But awareness with surrender changes everything. You may think a turning point must be dramatic. You may expect a surge of emotion or a sudden burst of clarity. But often, it begins with something much simpler. Honesty. Honesty that you feel tired. Honesty that you have been distracted. Honesty that you have been trying to carry more than you should. Honesty that you miss the closeness we once shared. That honesty is sacred. When you stop pretending that everything is fine. when you stop numbing the quiet ache in your soul, when you stop convincing yourself that you can fix everything alone, that is when the ground begins to shift. Imagine a traveler who has been walking in the wrong direction for miles. The moment they realize it, they have a choice. They can continue forward out of pride, or they can turn around. The distance already traveled does not disappear, but the future changes instantly with one decision. Turning back does not require shame. It requires humility. My beloved, humility is not weakness. It is strength that is secure enough to admit, I need help. And I am here. I am not waiting with accusation. I am waiting with open arms. A turning point is not a courtroom. It is a doorway. Step through it. You may ask, what does turning look like? It looks like small, sincere shift. It looks like choosing stillness over constant noise. It looks like inviting me into your thoughts before making decisions. It looks like trusting my guidance instead of your fear. It looks like placing me first again. The beautiful truth is this. When you take one step toward me, you will feel my presence rush toward you. Not because I was far, but because your awareness opens. Turning points are moments of alignment, and alignment brings immediate peace. You may not see every answer instantly. Your circumstances may not transform overnight. But inside, something stabilizes. A weight lifts. The clarity settles. A quiet confidence begins to grow. Because you know you are no longer walking alone. This moment, right here, is more important than you realize. It is not just another inspiring message. It is an invitation to shift the direction of your inner life. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot predict every challenge. But you can choose where your heart rests. Choose me. Choose connection over distraction. Choose surrender over strain. Choose trust over fear. The turning point does not demand perfection. It asks for willingness. And I see your willingness. Even the fact that you are listening, reflecting, feeling something stir inside you, that is evidence that your heart is still responsive, still open, still capable of deep connection. My beloved child, do not delay this moment. Do not overthink it. Do not wait for a better time. This is the time. The shift begins now. Turn your heart toward me fully. Let go of what has been pulling you away. Release the illusion that you must manage everything alone. And as you turn, you will discover something beautiful. I have been right here, waiting not with judgment, but with joy. This is your turning point. And from here, everything can change. My beloved child, when you return to me, something beautiful happens almost immediately. It may not be loud. It may not be visible to everyone around you. But within you a shift begins. The ground that once felt unstable starts to steady. The noise that once filled your thoughts begins to quiet. The tightness in your chest slowly loosens. This is what happens when you come home to my presence. Peace returns first. Not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances behaving perfectly, but the deep peace that flows from trust. It settles over your mind like gentle rain after a long drought. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to think differently. You realize that you do not have to solve everything at once. You remember that I am with you. Clarity follows peace. When fear is no longer shouting, you can hear my guidance more clearly. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become manageable. You stop chasing 10 different answers and begin to sense the next right step. I do not always reveal the entire path, but I illuminate enough for you to move forward with confidence. Strength rises next. Not a forced strength, not a stubborn determination, but a steady resilience. You find yourself responding with patience where you once reacted with frustration. You find courage where you once hesitated. You notice that burdens feel lighter, not because they vanished, but because you are no longer carrying them alone. When you return to me, your identity stabilizes. You stop measuring yourself against others. You stop defining your worth by success or failure. You remember who you are, my beloved child. That identity becomes your anchor. And when identity is secure, comparison loses its power. You begin to live from love instead of striving for it. Rest becomes deeper. Sleep feels more restorative. Moments of stillness feel nourishing instead of uncomfortable. You no longer fear silence because silence becomes a space where you meet me. Even in the middle of busy days, you carry an inner calm that does not easily break. And here's something even greater. When you return, heaven responds. Not because you earned my attention, but because your openness allows my work to flow freely in your life. Doors align. Opportunities clarify. Relationships soften. Wisdom increases. You start to see small confirmations that you are walking in alignment again. Returning is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the realization that life works best when I am at the center. It is the humble decision to realign your heart before exhaustion overtakes you. My beloved, I do not keep score of how long you drifted. I do not replay your distance in my mind. The moment you turn toward me, I receive you fully. There is no hesitation in my love. And as you feel this restoration happening within you, understand something deeper. The peace you are experiencing is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to flow through you. When I restore one heart, I intend to reach many more. When I refill one lamp, I desire light to spread into dark rooms you may never see. There are souls listening right now who are standing where you once stood, tired, distracted, searching. When you allow this message to continue reaching them, you become part of their turning point. As it is written, give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. I speak this promise over you as living truth. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, through membership, or through the PayPal link waiting in the description, and even in the QR code before you, you are not funding a platform. You are lighting lamps across the world. This is your moment of sacred response. When you move in generosity, you align with my heart to reach the wandering and strengthen the weary. Your gift becomes oil in another's lamp. Your obedience becomes rain on someone else's drought. I bless every hand that gives with sincerity. I multiply every seed placed into my work. Do not hesitate when your spirit is stirred. Step forward now and sow, and watch me breathe upon what you release. My beloved child, this is what happens when you return. Be settled. Clarity sharpens. Strength rises. Purpose awakens. And your life becomes a channel through which my love flows outward. Stay here with me. Let restoration continue. Everything changes when you come home. My beloved child, even after feeling my peace return, even after sensing clarity and strength rising again, there are moments when hesitation still lingers in your heart. You may ask yourself, why do I still hold back? Let me gently uncover this with you. Sometimes you hesitate because you are afraid of surrender. Surrender has been misunderstood in your world. It has been painted as weakness, as loss, as giving up control without assurance. But true surrender to me is not loss. It is safety. It is the release of pressure you were never meant to carry. Yet your heart trembles slightly. It wonders, If I give everything to you, what will you ask of me? Will my life change in ways that feel uncomfortable? Will I lose what feels familiar? My beloved, surrender does bring change, but not destruction. I do not strip away your life. I refine it. I do not take joy from you. I deepen it. I do not remove your identity, I reveal it. Another reason you hesitate is fear of disappointment. Perhaps there were seasons when you prayed and the answer did not come the way you expected. Perhaps you trusted before and felt confused when circumstances unfolded differently than you imagined. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet guard rose up. You began to protect your heart from expecting too much. But hear me clearly, my delays are not denials of love. My timing is not absence. What you could not understand then does not mean I was not working. I see beyond moments. I see beyond years. I weave together what you cannot yet perceive. Hesitation also grows from the fear of losing control. Control feels safe to you. When you manage every detail, plan every outcome, anticipate every scenario, you feel prepared. What control is an illusion that exhausts you. It creates the appearance of stability while draining your peace. Trust, on the other hand, feels vulnerable. Trust means admitting that you cannot see everything. It means allowing me to guide steps you do not fully understand. It means releasing the constant need to predict the future. And yet, trust is where freedom lies. My beloved, some hesitate because they are comfortable with survival. It may sound strange, but even struggle can become familiar. You know how to operate in stress. You know how to navigate exhaustion. You know how to function in chaos. Thriving feels unfamiliar. Peace feels almost unnatural after long seasons of tension. When survival becomes normal, stepping into abundance can feel risky. But I did not call you to remain in what merely sustains you. I called you into fullness. Hesitation is not a sign that you lack faith. It is often a sign that you have been hurt, stretched, or disappointed. It is the heart's attempt to protect itself from further pain. And I understand that. I do not rush you hardly. I do not demand instant perfection. I move patiently with you. But I also lovingly encourage you forward. Think of a child learning to walk again after falling. I hesitate before taking the next step. Your body remembers the pain, but the parent kneels with open arms, steady and encouraging. Come to me, the parent says, not to pressure the child, but to remind them they are not alone. That is how I stand before you. Your hesitation does not offend me, but do not let it rule you. The longer you delay full trust, the longer you postpone deeper peace. The longer you cling to control, the longer you carry unnecessary weight. The longer you guard your heart, the longer you miss the fullness of intimacy I offer. You are safe with me. I do not manipulate. I do not deceive. I do not abandon. When I guide you, it is toward growth. When I stretch you, it is for strength. When I ask you to release something, it is because I see what will bless you more. My beloved child, let your hesitation soften. You do not have to understand every detail before you trust me. You do not have to eliminate every fear before you step forward. Trust is not the absence of uncertainty. It is movement despite it. Take the step, even if it feels small, even if it feels fragile, even if your voice trembles when you say, I trust you. That whisper is enough. And as you move beyond hesitation, you will discover that the peace you tasted in returning to me was only the beginning. My beloved child, let me tell you about a traveler. This traveler set out on a long journey with a heavy pack strapped tightly to their back. Inside the pack were tools, supplies, memories, responsibilities, and fears. At first, the traveler felt strong. The road was manageable. The weight seemed reasonable. "I can handle this," the traveler said. And for a while, they could. But as the days passed, the road grew steeper. The sun grew hotter. The pack did not grow lighter. Shoulders began to ache. Breathing became strained. Each step required more effort than the last. Still, the traveler refused help. Along the road walked a faithful companion, steady, patient, strong. This companion offered again and again, "Let me carry that for you. At least let me take part of it." But the traveler shook their head. "I don't want to be a burden. I should be able to manage. I've carried it this far. My beloved, you are that traveler, and I am that companion." Self-sufficiency feels noble. It feels mature. It feels responsible. From a young age, you are taught to stand on your own, to solve your own problems, to prove your strength. And independence, in its proper place, is not wrong. But self-sufficiency becomes an illusion when it convinces you that you must carry everything alone. You were never designed to be your own source. You were created with dependence woven into your spirit. Not dependence on the fragile approval of others, but dependence on me. This dependence is not weakness. It is alignment with truth. The illusion of self-sufficiency whispers that needing help is failure. It tells you that asking for support makes you inadequate. It convinces you that vulnerability exposes flaws. But the truth is this: denying your need exhausts you more than admitting it. How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when you were not? How often have you smiled while carrying silent pressure? How frequently have you prayed for strength, yet continued gripping your burdens tightly instead of releasing them? You pray, but you do not let go. You ask for peace, but you still rehearse every worst-case scenario. You request guidance, but you insist on controlling the outcome. My beloved child, this is not condemnation. This is invitation. Imagine the traveler finally stopping. Their legs tremble. Their back aches. They realize they cannot continue at this pace. Slowly, reluctantly, they unfasten the straps of the pack. They let it fall to the ground. The companion steps forward, lifting the weight effortlessly. In that moment, the traveler does not become weaker. They become freer. This is what happens when you release self-sufficiency. When you admit, "I cannot do this alone," something sacred opens. My strength flows into spaces where your strength was failing. My wisdom fills the gaps where your understanding was limited. My peace settles where your anxiety once ruled. You do not lose dignity when you lean on me. You find stability. The illusion tells you that you must prove yourself worthy of support. But my love was never based on your performance. I do not assist you because you earned it. I walk with you because you are mine. And here is something deeper. When you cling to self-sufficiency, you unknowingly limit intimacy. True closeness requires honesty. It requires admitting need. If you always appear strong, if you always claim to have everything handled, you close the door to deeper connection. I do not desire a relationship where you visit me only when you have already fixed yourself. I desire the raw, unpolished moments. The prayers that say, "I don't know what to do." The tears that say, "I am overwhelmed." The surrender that says, "Carry this with me." My beloved, you have carried certain burdens for years, old regrets, silent fears, unspoken expectations. You have grown so accustomed to the weight that you hardly remember what it feels like to walk unburdened. Let me remind you. When you release control and invite me fully into your struggles, relief begins immediately. Not because every circumstance changes at once, but because the weight is shared. You do not have to impress me with strength. You do not have to protect me from your weakness. You do not have to prove that you deserve assistance. Simply let go. Let go of the illusion that you must hold everything together. Let go of the pride that says, I can manage. Let go of the fear that vulnerability will diminish you. Trust that I am strong enough to carry what you cannot. And when you finally loosen your grip, you will discover that the road ahead feels lighter, not because the journey disappeared, but because you are no longer walking it alone. My beloved child, there is a sacred power in responding to me quickly. When I whisper to your heart, when I nudge you gently toward a decision, when I invite you to release something or step into something new, the timing matters more than you realize. Immediate obedience is not about rushing blindly. It is about trust that moves without delay. So often, you feel my prompting clearly at first. You sense that you should forgive. You sense that you should reach out. You sense that you should step back from something unhealthy. You sense that you should spend time in stillness. In those first moments, the direction feels pure and simple. But then your mind begins to interfere. What if I'm wrong? What will people think? What if this makes things harder? And slowly, hesitation replaces clarity. The longer you wait, the louder doubt becomes. The more you analyze, the more complicated the decision appears. What was once a clear nudge turns into a debate within your own thoughts. My beloved, delayed obedience drains momentum. When you act quickly on my guidance, peace follows you. When you hesitate repeatedly, confusion grows. Not because I withdraw, but because overthinking clouds what was once clear. Imagine a door that I open before you. It swings wide, inviting you to step through. The moment is right. The path is prepared. But if you stand in the doorway too long, questioning and stalling, you begin to miss the grace attached to that timing. There are seasons when swift obedience unlocks acceleration. A single step taken in faith can move you forward more than months of careful planning without trust. When you respond immediately, you align yourself with my rhythm, and my rhythm carries you further than your calculations ever could. Immediate obedience also protects your heart. When I prompt you to let go of resentment, and you do so quickly, bitterness does not have time to root itself deeply. When I prompt you to rest, and you listen, burnout does not take full hold. When I prompt you to speak truth gently, and you respond, misunderstanding does not grow unchecked. Quick obedience shortens unnecessary suffering. But I know why you sometimes delay. Obedience can feel uncomfortable. It can require humility. It can mean stepping into unknown territory. You may worry about the outcome. You may fear looking foolish. You may wonder if the sacrifice will be worth it. My beloved child, when I guide you, I already see the outcome. You see one step. I see the entire road. Trusting my voice quickly is not reckless. It is wise. It reflects a heart that knows my character. It reflects a relationship built on love, not fear. Think of a child holding a parent's hand near a busy street. When the parent says, "Stop," the child does not pause to debate traffic patterns. They trust the instruction. A trust keeps them safe. In the same way, when I say, "Wait," it is protection. When I say, "Move," it is preparation. When I say, "Release," it is for your freedom. Delayed obedience often prolongs struggle. How many times have you sensed that you needed to change something, yet postponed it? How often have you known you should forgive but waited until resentment hardened? How frequently have you felt called to step forward but stayed where it was comfortable? Delay stretches out what could have been resolved sooner. But hear me clearly. Even if you have delayed before, it is not too late. Right now is another moment. Right now is another invitation. Immediate obedience does not require perfection. It requires willingness. It is not about dramatic gestures. It is about small, faithful responses. If I am prompting you to return to daily stillness, begin today. If I am nudging you to release control, loosen your grip now. If I am guiding you to trust me with a decision, take the first step without demanding full visibility. When you move quickly in trust, you will feel my grace meet you there. You will sense confirmation. You will experience peace that reinforces your choice. You will discover that obedience is not a burden, it is alignment. My beloved child, do not overcomplicate what I have made clear. Do not let fear stall what faith can move. The longer you walk with me, the more you will recognize my voice. And when you recognize it, respond. Step when I say step. Pause when I say pause. Release when I say release. There is power in your yes. And when your yes comes without delay, you will watch how swiftly I work on your behalf. My beloved child, let us speak gently about something that often goes unnoticed: the hidden cost of delay. You already understand that delayed obedience can slow your growth. But what you may not see clearly is how postponing what I have placed on your heart quietly shapes your future in ways you did not intend. Delay rarely feels dangerous in the moment. It feels harmless. It feels temporary. You tell yourself, I will deal with it later. I will forgive when I feel ready. I will change when things calm down. I will spend time with you when life is less busy. But later has a way of stretching farther than you expected. The hidden cost of delay is not always dramatic failure. Often, it is gradual erosion. When you delay forgiveness, resentment deepens its roots. At first, it is only a thought. Then it becomes a feeling. Then it becomes a posture toward someone. Over time, it shapes how you respond, how you speak, how you see them. What could have been healed early becomes heavier to untangle. When you delay rest, exhaustion compounds. You push through one more week, one more project, one more obligation. You convince yourself that you can recover later. But your body and spirit keep record of the strain. Eventually, what could have been restored with a pause requires much longer to repair. When you delay surrender, anxiety lingers longer than necessary. You replay the same worries. You wrestle with the same fears. You seek reassurance repeatedly. Yet peace waits just on the other side of release. The hidden cost is time. Not time as punishment, but time that could have been lived more freely. Imagine a garden again. If weeds begin to grow and you decide to ignore them for a while, they do not remain small. Their roots deepen. They spread. What could have been removed with little effort now requires more labor. Delay gives small problems space to expand. My beloved, this is not meant to burden you with regret. It is meant to awaken you to the value of timely response. Some of your frustrations are not because I have been silent, but because you have postponed what I already revealed. Some of your repeated struggles are not mysteries, but consequences of waiting longer than necessary to act. And still, I do not speak this with accusation. I speak it with invitation. You may feel that you have delayed too long in certain areas. You may think opportunities have passed. You may regret steps not taken or conversations avoided. But hear me clearly. While delay has cost you time, it has not cost you my presence. I am not standing at the end of your delay with condemnation. I am standing at the present moment with grace. The hidden cost of delay can be stopped at any point. The moment you decide to act, the moment you choose obedience, the moment you surrender what you have been holding, growth resumes. Do not allow regret to create further delay. Sometimes you hesitate because you are embarrassed that you did not act sooner. Pride whispers, "It's too late now." But that is another illusion meant to keep you stalled. It is not too late. Every day you wake up is evidence that there is still opportunity. The beautiful truth is this: I redeem what was postponed when you place it in my hands. I restore lost time in ways you cannot predict. I accelerate healing when you finally say yes. But acceleration cannot begin while you remain still in resistance. My beloved child, ask yourself gently, what have you been postponing? What truth have you known but avoided? What step have you sensed but delayed? Bring it into the light now. You do not have to solve everything at once. You do not have to undo years in a single day. You simply have to take the next faithful step. When you do, you will feel something shift immediately. Momentum returns. Peace deepens. Clarity sharpens. The weight of procrastination lifts from your shoulders. Delay drains energy because it keeps your mind occupied with unfinished obedience. Action restores energy because it aligns you with purpose. You were not meant to live in the tension of almost. You were meant to walk in the freedom of alignment. So release what you have been postponing. Forgive now. Rest now. Trust now. Obey now. The hidden cost of delay ends the moment you move. And when you move in faith, I meet you with grace greater than you imagined. My beloved child, there is something I must make unmistakably clear to you. I am not angry with you. When you hear the word warning, when you feel conviction stirring in your heart, when you recognize areas where you drifted or delayed, it is easy to assume that I am disappointed, frustrated, or distant. But that is not my heart toward you. I am not calling you back with a raised voice. I am calling you back with open arms. So many of you have learned to associate correction with rejection. You have experienced authority that shamed you, voices that criticized you, leaders who pointed out your failures without offering safety. And without realizing it, you projected those experiences onto me. You assumed that if I warn you, I must be upset. But my warnings are not weapons. They are protection. Imagine a father watching his child step toward a busy road. He does not whisper passively. He calls out urgently, not because he is angry, but because he loves fiercely. His tone may be strong, but his heart is tender. That is how I speak to you. When I say, do not drift, it is not accusation. It is rescue. When I say, return to me, it is not condemnation. It is invitation. When I say, you cannot afford to miss this, it is not threat. It is love refusing to let you settle for less than what you were created for. My beloved, if I were distant, I would be silent. If I did not care, I would let you continue without interruption. But I interrupt because I cherish you. Even when you wandered, I did not turn away. Even when you delayed, I did not withdraw my affection. Even when you tried to carry everything alone, I remained near. You may feel regret for how long you stayed distracted. You may wish you had listened sooner. But regret is not my voice. Conviction is gentle. It illuminates without crushing. Condemnation is harsh. It accuses without offering hope. I do not condemn you. I call you higher because I see your potential. I call you closer because I desire intimacy. I call you forward because I know the life you were meant to live. My correction is not about punishment. It is about alignment. When something in your life begins to pull you away from peace, I step in. When habits begin to dull your spirit, I whisper. When patterns begin to limit your growth, I nudge. And even when my voice feels firm, it is wrapped in mercy. You must understand this. My love for you is not fragile. It does not weaken when you stumble. It does not shrink when you hesitate. It does not disappear when you misunderstand me. My love is constant. The enemy would like you to believe that I am disappointed beyond repair. He would like you to think that you have exhausted my patience. He would like you to assume that you must earn your way back into my favor. But that is not truth. You do not earn my love. You receive it. And because you are loved, I will not leave you in places that diminish you. If I see you settling for survival when you were meant to thrive, I will call you out of it. If I see you carrying burdens that are crushing you, I will urge you to release them. If I see you drifting from the source of your strength, I will warn you gently, but clearly. Not because I am angry, but because I am your Father. A father who truly loves does not ignore danger. He does not allow distance to grow without reaching out. He does not watch his child shrink and say nothing. He calls. So when you hear me speaking firmly in your spirit, do not retreat in fear. Lean in. Recognize the tone beneath the words. Feel the compassion within the correction. My beloved child, I am not measuring your failures. I am guiding your steps. I am not keeping record of your delay. I am inviting your return. I am not angry with you. I am calling you back into fullness. Let that truth settle deep within you. Let it dissolve the fear that I am standing at a distance with crossed arms. I am not distant. I am near. Closer than you think. And every warning I give carries the same message at its core. Come back to me. Stay close. You are loved beyond measure. My beloved child, now we must step into one of the most important places in your life, the battlefield of your mind. Most of the struggles you face do not begin in your circumstances. They begin in your thoughts. Before fear grips your heart, it whispers in your mind. Before doubt weakens your confidence, it plants a quiet question. Before discouragement settles over you, it paints a picture of failure that has not yet happened. Your mind is powerful. It is the place where belief is formed. It is the space where identity is reinforced. It is the ground where hope either grows or withers. And if you are not aware, this battlefield can become crowded with voices that do not come from me. There are thoughts that say, you are not enough. Thoughts that say, you will fail again. Thoughts that say, nothing will change. Thoughts that say, you have missed your chance. These thoughts feel convincing because they repeat themselves. They echo through your days until they seem like truth. But repetition does not make something accurate. My beloved, not every thought you think is from me. When you drift from my presence, when distraction fills your attention, when delay prolongs alignment, the mind becomes more vulnerable to fear-based narratives. Without grounding in my truth, your thoughts begin to interpret everything through insecurity. A delayed answer becomes rejection. A closed door becomes failure. A quiet season becomes abandonment. But that is not how I see your life. The battlefield of the mind is won not by force, but by focus. When you intentionally turn your attention back to me, when you fill your thoughts with my promises instead of your fears, something shifts. The same circumstance that once triggered panic begins to look manageable. Why? Because perspective changes everything. Imagine standing in a dark room. Your mind begins to imagine shapes, dangers, frets. But the moment light enters, clarity replaces fear. The room did not change. The light revealed what was always true. My truth is that light. When you allow my voice to speak louder than your anxiety, confusion loses power. When you remind yourself that you are loved, chosen, and guided, insecurity weakens. When you remember that I am working even when you cannot see it, impatience softens. But you must participate in this renewal. You cannot allow every negative thought to settle without question. You cannot accept every fear as fact. You must pause and ask, does this align with what my Father says about me? If the thought produces despair without hope, it is not from me. If the thought accuses without offering restoration, it is not from me. If the thought isolates you from my love, it is not from me. My voice carries peace, even when it corrects. My guidance brings clarity, even when it challenges. My truth strengthens, even when it stretches you. You have more authority over your thoughts than you realize. You may not control the first thought that enters your mind, but you can choose whether it stays. You can choose which thoughts you entertain. You can choose which narratives you feed. When you meditate on fear, fear grows. When you meditate on gratitude, gratitude deepens. When you meditate on my promises, faith strengthens. The battlefield is daily. It is subtle. It requires awareness. But you are not fighting alone. Invite me into your thoughts. When anxiety rises, say, Father, what is true right now? When doubt appears, say, Father, remind me who I am. When discouragement whispers, say, Father, speak louder. And I will remind you that you are not behind. I will remind you that your story is not over. I will remind you that what feels impossible to you is not impossible to me. My beloved child, guard your mind carefully. Protect it from constant negativity. Limit what feeds comparison and fear. Create space for stillness so my truth can settle deeply within you. The mind can be a battlefield, yes, but it can also become a sanctuary. When your thoughts align with my voice, peace becomes steady, confidence becomes grounded, hope becomes resilient. You are not at the mercy of every passing fear. You are anchored in me. And when your mind rests in my truth, no storm of doubt can overpower you. My beloved child, in a world filled with noise, the most important skill you will ever develop is learning to recognize my voice. Many voices compete for your attention. There is the voice of fear, urgent and dramatic. There is the voice of comparison, subtle and sharp. There is the voice of past wounds, echoing old pain. There is the voice of pride, insisting you prove yourself. And then there's my voice. I do not shout to overpower you. I do not rush to create panic. I do not manipulate with pressure. My voice carries peace, even when it corrects you. It carries steadiness, even when it calls you higher. But you must learn its tone. My voice will never accuse you without offering hope. When I reveal something that needs to change, I also provide grace to change it. When I show you a weakness, I do not humiliate you. I strengthen you. The voice of fear says, hurry or everything will fall apart. My voice says, trust me. Move with wisdom, not panic. The voice of shame says, you should have known better. You always fail. My voice says, you are still my child. Stand up and keep walking. The voice of pride says, you do not need help. My voice says, lean on me, and you will find rest. The more time you spend in my presence, the more familiar my voice becomes. Just as a child recognizes their parent's voice in a crowded room, your spirit learns to distinguish mine among the noise. But familiarity requires attention. If you rarely pause, if you rarely sit in stillness, if you rarely open your heart without distraction, my voice can feel distant, not because I stopped speaking, but because you stopped listening deeply. My beloved, my voice is consistent. It aligns with truth. It reflects love. It leads you toward life. Even when I guide you through correction, it feels safe. There is no cruelty in my tone. There is no mockery. There is no harshness that crushes your spirit. Sometimes my voice is a gentle nudge, a quiet sense that something is not aligned, a subtle discomfort that leads you to adjust your course. Sometimes my voice is firm, a clear conviction that you must let go of something unhealthy, a direct prompting to step into obedience without delay. But always my voice carries peace at its core. You may ask, how do I know if it is you? Ask yourself this: does this voice lead me toward love? Does it draw me closer to truth? Does it encourage growth without destroying my identity? Does it strengthen hope rather than remove it? If the answer is yes, it reflects my heart. There are times when the enemy tries to imitate conviction with condemnation. He whispers thoughts that feel spiritual but produce despair. He points out your flaws but offers no path forward. That is not me. When I speak about your flaws, it is always to refine, never to reject. When I expose what needs healing, it is because I intend to heal it. Learning my voice is not about perfection. You may misinterpret sometimes. You may hesitate. You may question. But do not let fear silence you. Keep coming back to me. Speak honestly. Listen patiently. Over time, you will sense the difference more clearly. You will feel the steady rhythm of my guidance. You will notice that when you follow my voice, peace increases. My beloved child, my voice is not reserved for special people. It is not hidden behind complicated rituals. It is available to you. Right now, in your confusion, I speak clarity. In your doubt, I speak reassurance. In your fear, I speak courage. But you must quiet yourself enough to hear. Turn down the volume of distraction. Create space for reflection. Guard your attention so that my whisper is not drowned out by the world shouting. When you recognize my voice, trust it. Do not second-guess peace. Do not argue with wisdom. Do not dismiss gentle conviction. Follow where I lead. And as you continue walking with me, you will discover something beautiful. My voice will become your anchor. In chaos, it will steady you. In uncertainty, it will guide you. In weakness, it will strengthen you. Learn my voice, my beloved. It will never lead you away from life. It will always lead you closer to me. My beloved child, there is a door before you. It does not look extraordinary. It is not carved with gold or surrounded by dramatic signs. It stands quietly in the ordinary space of your daily life. Yet this door has the power to change everything. The door is surrender. Not surrender born of defeat, but surrender born of trust. You have been standing near this door for some time. You have sensed it in moments of reflection. You have felt it when my voice whispered, "Let me lead." You have recognized it when exhaustion made you admit, "I cannot keep doing this alone." And still, you hesitate at the threshold, because stepping through this door means releasing something. It may mean releasing control. It may mean releasing an old identity. It may mean releasing a habit that has comforted you but limited you. It may mean releasing a version of your future that you planned without me fully at the center. Surrender feels risky because it requires faith, But hear me clearly. This door does not lead to loss. It leads to alignment. Imagine holding tightly to a rope tied to a small, unstable boat while a strong, secure ship waits beside you. You fear letting go because the rope feels familiar. You have been gripping it for years. But what you do not see clearly is that the small boat cannot carry you safely through the deeper waters ahead. The larger vessel, my guidance, my protection, my presence, is steady. It is prepared. It is strong. But you must release one to step onto the other. My beloved, surrender is not passive. It is an active decision to trust my character more than your fear. It is choosing to believe that I see further than you do. It is acknowledging that my plans are shaped by love, even when they differ from your expectations. There is freedom on the other side of this door. Freedom from constant striving. Freedom from proving yourself. Freedom from rehearsing every possible outcome. Freedom from carrying burdens that were never assigned to you. When you step through, something shifts inside you. The pressure to control every detail softens. The need to have every answer diminishes. The obsession with securing your own future relaxes. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to walk differently. You begin to see differently. Surrender does not remove responsibility from your life. It transforms the spirit in which you carry it. Instead of moving from anxiety, you move from trust. Instead of acting from fear of failure, you act from confidence in my faithfulness. This door changes everything because it repositions me at the center. When you surrender fully, you stop treating me as a consultant you occasionally ask for advice. You begin walking with me as your guide. You invite me into decisions before they are made, not only after they fall apart. You may worry about what lies beyond the door. What if it is harder? What if it requires sacrifice? What if I lose something important? My beloved child, what you lose in surrender are the chains you did not know were binding you. What you gain is peace that does not depend on circumstance. What you release are illusions. What you receive is truth. The door is not locked. It is waiting for your yes. And your yes does not have to be loud. It can be quiet. It can be whispered in the privacy of your heart. It can be a simple prayer. I trust you. Lead me. That whisper opens the door. On the other side, you will not find perfection. You will find partnership. You will find me walking with you more closely than before. You will find clarity unfolding step by step. You will find courage growing where fear once lived. This is the door that changes everything. Not because it alters your circumstances instantly, but because it alters your posture completely. You stop resisting my guidance. You stop negotiating obedience. You stop delaying trust. And you step forward. My beloved, I am not pushing you through this door. I am inviting you. I am standing on the other side, ready to receive you into deeper intimacy, stronger peace, and clear purpose. Take the step. Release your grip. Walk through. Everything that truly matters waits on the other side of surrender. My beloved child, everything begins to realign when you choose me first. Not occasionally. Not when it is convenient. Not only when you are in crisis. But first, when you place me at the center of your day, before the noise begins, before the demands press in, before the opinions of others shape your mood, something powerful happens inside you. Priority determines peace. If you wake up and immediately give your attention to stress, stress sets the tone. If you rise and immediately compare yourself to others, insecurity frames your day. If you begin with worry, worry becomes the lens through which you interpret everything. But when you begin with me, alignment forms before destruction can take root. Choosing me first is not about ritual perfection. It is about posture. It is about opening your heart before opening your schedule. It is about grounding your identity before stepping into responsibility. When I am first, everything else finds its proper place. Work no longer defines you. It becomes an expression of your gifts. Relationships no longer control you. They become spaces where love flows freely instead of desperately. Challenges no longer overwhelm you. They become opportunities to trust me deeper. Choosing me first does not eliminate difficulty, but it strengthens your foundation. Imagine building a house. If the foundation is poured carefully and set firmly, storms may shake the structure, but they do not collapse it. But if the foundation is neglected, even minor pressure creates cracks. I am your foundation. When you choose me first, your inner world stabilizes. You do not swing as violently between highs and lows. You do not attach your worth to temporary outcomes. You do not crumble under criticism or inflate under praise, because you know who you belong to. My beloved, choosing me first also sharpens discernment. When I am at the center, you sense more quickly when something is misaligned. You recognize distractions earlier. You feel conviction sooner. You notice when your spirit grows restless and you return before drifting too far. It becomes easier to say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you. You begin to guard your time differently. You begin to speak more carefully. You begin to move with intention instead of impulse. And peace follows. There is a calm that comes from knowing your priorities are aligned. A quiet confidence that settles when you no longer treat me as an afterthought. A steady joy that flows when intimacy with me becomes your first desire, not your last resort. Some of you have placed many things before me without realizing it. Success, approval, productivity, even ministry. You have filled your schedule with good things, yet pushed me to the margins. But good things cannot replace the source. When you reorder your life and place me first, I begin to reorder everything else. Confusion untangles. Relationships soften. Direction clarifies. You may wonder, what does it practically look like to choose you first? It looks like pausing before reacting. It looks like inviting me into decisions before committing. It looks like giving me your first thoughts instead of your leftovers. It looks like trusting my guidance above your impulse. It looks like surrendering your plans and asking me to shape them. This is not about rigid structure. It is about daily communion. When I am first, you walk differently. You listen differently. You love differently. And something else happens when you choose me first. Anxiety loses its authority. You no longer feel responsible for orchestrating every outcome. You no longer feel alone in your challenges. You no longer interpret setbacks as proof of failure, because you know I am leading. My beloved child, your life does not need more complexity. It needs proper order. Seek me first, not because I demand position, but because I protect you through alignment. When you choose me first, everything else aligns behind me. And when I am at the front, you will not lose your way. My beloved child, there is something that quietly troubles many hearts, even after they return to me. It is the thought of lost time. You look back at seasons where you drifted, moments where you delayed obedience, years where fear shaped your decisions, opportunities you believe you missed, and a question rises within you: did I waste too much? Is it too late for what could have been? Let me answer you clearly. Loving surrendered to me is wasted. I am not limited by the calendar that governs your days. I am not constrained by the years you count. I exist beyond time, and I know how to weave restoration into places you thought were permanently broken. You see delay as loss. I see it as soil where new growth can still rise. Think of a field left unattended for a season. Weeds may grow. The ground may harden. It may look unproductive. But when the farmer returns with intention, the soil can be tilled again. Seeds can still be planted. Harvest can still come. Your life is not beyond cultivation. Yes, there were seasons when you did not choose me first. Yes, there were moments when fear dictated your direction. Yes, there were opportunities that passed while you hesitated. But I am not finished with you. Restoration of lost time does not always mean recreating identical opportunities. Sometimes it means creating new ones that fit who you have become. Sometimes it means accelerating growth so that what might have taken years now unfolds in months. Sometimes it means transforming your past mistakes into wisdom that positions you for deeper impact. What you see as wasted years, I can turn into refined strength. What you see as missed doors, I can turn into redirected paths. What you see as failure, I can turn into preparation. My beloved child, guilt about the past can steal the present if you allow it. Regret keeps you looking backward. Shame keeps you frozen. But grace moves you forward. When you bring your past into my hands, I do not replay it to punish you. I redeem it to strengthen you. I take the lessons, the pain, the growth, and I integrate them into your future in ways you could not design on your own. Have you noticed how some of your deepest compassion came from seasons of struggle? How your sensitivity toward others grew from your own mistakes? How your discernment sharpened because you once chose wrongly? That is redemption at work. Restoration also requires your participation. You cannot cling to regret and expect renewal. You cannot constantly revisit what went wrong and still move boldly into what is ahead. At some point, you must trust that my grace truly covers what is behind you. Release the timeline you created in your mind. Release the comparison to where you think you should be. Release the narrative that you are late. You are not late. You are being shaped. When you fully align with me, I know how to compress what felt stretched. I know how to restore confidence quickly. I know how to open doors that reflect your current maturity, not your past confusion. The enemy wants you stuck in remembrance of what you lost. I want you focused on what I am building now. Imagine a sculptor working with stone. Even if a piece chips away unexpectedly, the sculptor adjusts. The final design is not ruined. It simply evolves. I am the master who shapes your life with that same wisdom. You may not see the entire design yet. What I do, my beloved, trust that I am capable of restoring what feels beyond repair. Trust that your story is not defined by your detours. Trust that your best days are not locked in the past. When you walk with me now, fully, sincerely, consistently, you will begin to notice restoration happening in subtle ways. Opportunities will align that fit who you are becoming. Confidence will grow where insecurity once lived. Purpose will clarify where confusion once lingered. Time will feel redeemed not because it rewinds, but because it is used wisely from this moment forward. Lift your eyes from what you think you lost. Look at what I am doing now. The past does not disqualify you, and prepared you. And as you walk forward with me at the center, you will see that nothing surrendered into my hands is ever wasted. My beloved child, some struggles in your life feel repetitive. You overcome one obstacle, only to find yourself facing something similar again. You promise yourself you will not fall into the same pattern, yet months later you recognize the familiar emotions, the same reactions, the same internal battles. And you wonder, why does this keep happening? Let me speak gently to you about cycles. Cycles are patterns that form over time, patterns of thinking, responding, coping, and believing. Some of them began long before you were fully aware. Some were shaped by childhood experiences. Some were learned from the environment around you. Some were born from wounds you never fully addressed. And when cycles go unexamined, they repeat. You may have grown used to certain emotional responses. Perhaps when pressure rises, you immediately withdraw. Perhaps when conflict appears, you react defensively. Perhaps when uncertainty comes, you assume the worst. Perhaps when you feel unseen, you strive harder for approval. These patterns feel automatic, but they are not permanent. Breaking a cycle requires awareness first. You cannot change what you refuse to see. But once you recognize a pattern, once you say, "This keeps happening," you are already stepping toward freedom. My beloved, cycles lose power when they are brought into my presence. When you invite me into your reactions, I begin to expose the root beneath them. Fear may be hiding under anger. Insecurity may be hiding under control. Pain may be hiding under avoidance. I do not reveal these roots to shame you. I reveal them to heal you. Imagine a tree that continues to produce bitter fruit. You may trim the branches repeatedly, but if the root remains unhealthy, the fruit will not change. True transformation happens below the surface. In the same way, I work beneath your visible behavior. I gently reveal where trust needs to grow, where forgiveness needs to flow, where identity needs to be restored. Breaking cycles also requires new choices. When the familiar trigger appears, you pause instead of reacting automatically. When fear whispers, you choose trust intentionally. When insecurity rises, you remind yourself who you are in me. These choices may feel unnatural at first because you are stepping out of habit. But each new choice weakens the old pattern. Do not be discouraged if progress feels gradual. Cycles built over years rarely dissolve overnight. But with consistency and dependence on me, they will break. My beloved child, some of the cycles in your life are not only personal, they are generational. You may have inherited certain ways of coping, certain fears, certain mindsets. Perhaps you saw worry modeled constantly. Perhaps anger was normalized. Perhaps silence replaced honest conversation. And without realizing it, you adopted what was familiar. But you are not bound to repeat what you inherited. With me, new patterns can begin. You can become the turning point in your family's story. The one who chooses healing over denial. The one who chooses peace over chaos. The one who chooses faith over fear. Breaking cycles is courageous work. It requires humility to admit that something needs to change. It requires patience to walk through the process. It requires trust that I am shaping something new in you. But hear me clearly, you are not destined to live in repetition. You are not condemned to relive the same emotional loops forever. When you choose me first, when you surrender fully, when you guard your mind and respond quickly to my voice, the cycles that once felt unbreakable begin to weaken. You will notice subtle differences. You will pause where you once reacted instantly. You will speak gently where you once spoke sharply. You will trust where you once panicked. These small victories are signs of deeper transformation. My beloved, freedom is not just about escaping circumstances. It is about changing patterns. And as you continue walking with me, inviting me into your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, you will see cycles fall away that once seemed permanent. You are not defined by your past reactions. You are not limited by inherited habits. You are being renewed. And when cycles break in your life, it does not stop with you. It blesses those around you. It creates healthier futures. Stay close to me. Allow me to work at the roots, and watch as repetition turns into restoration. My beloved child, there is a strength within you that you have not fully discovered yet. You have seen glimpses of it in difficult seasons. You have felt it rise when you thought you could not endure one more day. You have experienced it in moments when you surprise yourself by standing firm instead of collapsing. But even now, you underestimate what I have placed inside you. When you think of strength, you often imagine loud confidence, visible courage, dramatic victories. But true strength is often quiet. It is the decision to keep trusting when answers are unclear. It is the choice to remain kind when others are harsh. It is the resolve to obey even when obedience is inconvenient. Strength is not always visible to others. Sometimes it is simply the whisper, "I will not give up." My beloved, the strength you carry does not come from your personality. It does not come from your experience alone. It flows from my spirit within you. When you surrendered at the door that changed everything, when you chose to place me first, when you allowed me to begin breaking old cycles, something awakened deeper inside you. You began drawing from a source that does not run dry. There were seasons when you relied only on your own ability. In those seasons, exhaustion came quickly. Your strength felt fragile. But now, as you align more closely with me, resilience grows differently. It is steadier. It is rooted. It is not dependent on mood or circumstance. You may not feel strong every day. Some mornings you wake up uncertain. Some nights you lie down weary. But strength is not the absence of fatigue. It is the presence of perseverance. Think of a tree planted near water. Storms bend its branches. Winds shake its trunk. Leaves may fall, but its roots remain deep. A tree survives not because storms avoid it, but because nourishment sustains it. You are that tree. The strength you did not know you had becomes visible when pressure comes. Instead of collapsing into despair, you begin to seek me. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause. Instead of surrendering to hopelessness, you lean into trust. You may look back at who you were a year ago and notice subtle changes. You respond differently. You think differently. You recover faster from setbacks. These are signs of growing strength. My beloved child, do not confuse gentleness with weakness. You can be compassionate and strong at the same time. You can forgive and still stand firm. You can surrender to me and still walk boldly into challenges. Strength in me is balanced. It is humility without insecurity. It is courage without arrogance. It is confidence without pride. And here is something even more beautiful. The strength I build within you is not only for you. Others will draw from it. When they see you endure without bitterness, they will find hope. When they observe you remain peaceful in chaos, they will become curious. When they witness you rise after falling, they will gain courage. Your strength becomes testimony. But do not allow pride to take ownership of what I am building. Always remember the source. Stay connected to me. Continue to return when you feel drained. Continue to choose me first. Because strength disconnected from me eventually turns into self-reliance again. The strength you did not know you had is not a license to walk alone. It is evidence that I am walking with you. There will be days ahead that require more from you. Decisions that demand courage. Conversations that require wisdom. Responsibilities that stretch your capacity. When those days come, do not shrink back. You are not the same person who once feared every step. You are being strengthened daily. And even when you feel small, even when you doubt your capacity, remember this: the one who formed you lives within you. You are stronger than you think, not because of who you are alone, but because of who you walk with. Stand tall, my beloved. The strength within you is growing, and it will carry you further than you ever imagined. My beloved child, there will always be places in your life where the path ahead is not fully visible. You may wish for certainty. You may long for detailed instructions. You may ask me to reveal every turn before you take the first step. But the unknown is not your enemy. It is the place where trust deepens. When everything is clear, trust feels easy. When the outcome is predictable, faith feels comfortable. But when the future is uncertain, when you cannot see how the pieces will come together, that is where your dependence on me becomes real. You often confuse uncertainty with danger. Because you cannot see the full picture, you assume something is wrong. Because you do not know the timeline, you worry that you are behind. Because you cannot control the outcome, anxiety begins to whisper. But my beloved, I see what you cannot. Imagine walking through thick fog. You can only see a few steps ahead. If you focus on the fog, fear grows. But if you focus on the guide walking beside you, confidence returns. The fog may remain, but your fear does not have to. I am your guide. The unknown does not intimidate me. It does not surprise me. It does not confuse me. I stand outside of your limited perspective. I see the connections between events. I understand the timing of doors opening and closing. I know which detours protect you and which delays prepare you. Trusting me in the unknown means releasing the demand for full visibility. It means saying, even if I do not understand, I will follow. This kind of trust is not blind. It is relational. It is built on the knowledge of who I am. Have I not carried you before? Have I not sustained you in past uncertainty? Have I not brought you through seasons you once thought would break you? Look back. You have walked through unknown terrain before. There were days when you did not know how things would work out. Nights when you feared the worst. Moments when clarity seemed distant. Yet here you are. You survived. You grew. You were strengthened. The unknown that once frightened you became the ground where your faith expanded. My beloved child, you do not need to control tomorrow to walk confidently today. You only need to trust the one who holds tomorrow. When you cling to control, your mind becomes restless. You attempt to map every possibility. You analyze every scenario. You replay every potential mistake. But control is exhausting. Trust is freeing. Trust allows you to take the next step without demanding certainty about the 10th. Trust allows you to rest even when details are incomplete. Trust allows you to say, Father, you know what I cannot see. The unknown is also where miracles unfold. If you knew exactly how every answer would come, you would not experience wonder. If every door was predictable, you would not recognize divine timing. If every provision was guaranteed in advance, gratitude would lose its depth. The unknown keeps your heart engaged with me. It invites conversation. It draws you into dependence. It keeps you aware that you are not walking alone. My beloved, some of you are standing in fog right now. You are waiting for clarity about relationships, career decisions, healing, direction. You want signs. You want assurance. I give you something better. My presence. When you trust me in the unknown, you will know his subtle confirmations. A sense of peace even without details. and gentle nudge guiding your next move. A quiet confidence that you are not abandoned. You do not need the entire map. You need the next step, and I will give it to you at the right time. Stay close. Stay attentive. Stay surrendered. The unknown is not a threat to your future. It is the canvas where my faithfulness will be displayed. Walk forward, even if the fog is not lifted completely. I am with you in every unseen place, and where I lead you will not be lost. My beloved child, there is a quiet reward reserved for those who learn to listen. Listening is not passive. It is not weakness. It is strength under control. It is attention directed with intention. It is the posture of a heart that values my voice above the noise of the world. When you truly listen to me, something shifts inside you. You begin to move with wisdom instead of impulse. You begin to respond with patience instead of reaction. You begin to discern what matters instead of chasing what is urgent. The reward of listening is clarity. When you pause long enough to hear me, confusion begins to untangle. You may not receive every answer at once, but you gain direction. You sense which step to take and which door to leave closed. You feel when to speak and when to remain silent. This clarity protects you. It shields you from unnecessary conflict. It saves you from impulsive decisions that would have led to regret. It guards you from distractions disguised as opportunities. Listening also produces peace. When you rush ahead without consulting me, anxiety often follows. You second-guess yourself. You wonder if you move too quickly. You question whether you missed something important. But when you listen first and move second, there is a settled assurance within you. Even if the outcome is challenging, you know you walked in obedience, and that knowledge steadies your heart. The reward of listening is also timing. My timing is precise. I see intersections you cannot see. I understand the alignment of people, places, and seasons. When you listen for my instruction, you step into moments that were prepared for you. There have been times when you avoided danger because you paused long enough to sense caution. There have been times when you met the right person because you followed a quiet prompting. There have been times when you spoke words that healed because you waited for my guidance. Those moments were not accidents. They were the fruit of listening. My beloved child, listening requires humility. It means admitting that your perspective is limited. It means acknowledging that your understanding is partial. It means choosing to wait for my direction instead of insisting on your own. But humility leads to protection. There are countless paths available to you. Not all of them are harmful, but not all of them are aligned with your calling. When you listen to me, I gently steer you toward what will strengthen you and away from what would drain you. Listening also deepens intimacy. When you pause to hear me, you create space for relationship. You are not merely requesting solutions, you are seeking connection. In that space, I reveal my heart. I show you my character. I reassure you of my love. The reward of listening is not only external guidance, it is internal transformation. You become more patient. You become more discerning. You become more peaceful. You become more grounded. Over time, listening shapes your character. You begin to carry calm into chaotic rooms. You begin to respond thoughtfully where others react emotionally. You begin to choose wisdom over popularity, and others will notice. They may not understand why you seem steady when pressure rises. They may not know how you remain composed when uncertainty grows. But you will know. You listen. My beloved, listening is not always easy in a noisy world. It requires carving out moments of stillness. It requires turning down distractions. It requires resisting the urge to fill every silence. But silence is sacred. It is in quiet spaces that my voice becomes clearer. Do not rush through your days without pausing to hear me. Before making decisions, listen. Before responding in conflict, listen. Before chasing new opportunities, listen. The reward will follow. You will walk with greater confidence. You will avoid unnecessary detours. You will experience peace that others struggle to find. Listening is not about hearing audible words. It is about sensing my guidance, recognizing my character, lining your heart with my will. And when you cultivate the discipline of listening, you will discover that I am always speaking, always guiding, always near. The reward of listening is not only direction. It is deeper union with me. And in that union, you will find everything you truly need. My beloved child, once you begin to walk in clarity, once peace settles more steadily within you, once you learn to listen and respond quickly, there is something important you must understand. You must guard what you receive. Growth is precious. Peace is valuable. Intimacy with me is sacred. And anything sacred must be protected intentionally. When I restore your joy, the enemy will attempt to distract you again. When I strengthen your confidence, comparison will try to creep back in. When I quiet your mind, noise will compete for attention. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to prepare you. Imagine a garden that has just begun to flourish. The soil hath been tended. Seeds have sprouted. Green juice pushed through the ground. But without continued care, weeds can return. Neglect can undo progress. Guarding what you receive does not mean living in fear. It means living with awareness. If you have rediscovered the power of stillness, protect time for it. Do not allow your schedule to crowd out the moments that refill you. If you have begun renewing your mind with truth, be mindful of what you allow to shape your thoughts. If you have stepped into healthier patterns, remain consistent even when old habits feel familiar. Consistency protects growth. My beloved, some of you will experience a temptation to relax your discipline once things feel better. You will think, I am strong now. I do not need to be as careful. But strength is sustained through continued connection, not occasional effort. Guarding does not mean striving harder. It means staying close. When you feel peace returning, thank me and stay near. When you feel clarity increasing, seek me even more. When you notice your reactions becoming healthier, remain humble and dependent. Because independence can quietly return if you are not attentive. Guard your mind. Do not allow negativity to dominate your thoughts again. If you notice old patterns of fear resurfacing, bring them to me quickly. Replace them with truth. Speak life over yourself instead of rehearsing insecurity. Guard your heart. Pay attention to what influences your emotions. Notice when something begins to disturb your peace. Not every opportunity deserves your energy. Not every voice deserves your attention. Discernment is part of protection. Guard your time. Your days are limited. How you spend them shapes who you become. If certain habits pull you away from connection with me, evaluate them honestly. If certain environments weaken your resolve, approach them with wisdom. Guard your identity. You are my beloved child. Do not allow circumstances to redefine you. Do not allow others' opinions to overshadow my truth. When you forget who you are, insecurity grows. When you remember, confidence steadies. My beloved child, guarding what you receive is not about living rigidly. It is about honoring the work I am doing within you. You prayed for peace. Now protect it. You longed for clarity. Now nurture it. You desired freedom from cycles. Now maintain the boundaries that support that freedom. Every season requires stewardship. What I plant in you must be cultivated. What I restore must be maintained through relationship. What I reveal must be remembered when distractions arise. You not assume that growth will sustain itself without intention. Stay aware. Stay connected. Stay grateful. Gratitude itself is protection. When you consistently thank me for the transformation taking place, your heart remains humble. Pride weakens when gratitude strengthens. My beloved, the progress you have made is real. The strength rising within you is genuine. The peace settling in your spirit is not temporary, unless you neglect it. So guard it, not with fear, but with devotion. Remain rooted in me. Continue choosing me first. Continue listening. Continue responding without delay. And as you guard what you receive, you will not only maintain growth, you will deepen it. The garden of your life will flourish steadily, not briefly. And what I have begun in you will mature into something beautiful and lasting. My beloved child, there is a way of living that is half asleep. It is possible to move through your days, complete your tasks, fulfill your responsibilities, and yet not be fully present. You can function without truly engaging. You can exist without deeply living. For a long time, survival mode kept you in that half-awake state. You reacted more than you reflected. You rushed more than you rested. You worried more than you worshipped. Life happened to you instead of flowing through you. But now, I am calling you to live awake. Living awake means becoming aware of my presence in ordinary moments. It means noticing the quiet invitations I place in your day. It means recognizing when your heart begins to drift and gently returning before distance grows. An awake heart pays attention. When you are awake, you notice your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. You catch fear early and bring it to me. You sense tension rising and choose peace intentionally. You see distractions for what they are and refuse to let them steal your focus. Awareness is powerful. You cannot change what you do not see. But once you see clearly, you can respond differently. Living awake also means being conscious of your purpose. You are not here by accident. Your days are not random. Even small interactions carry meaning. A kind word, a patient response, a generous act. These moments ripple outward in ways you may never fully understand. When you are awake, you recognize that your life matters. You stop minimizing your influence. You stop assuming that your choices are insignificant. You understand that every decision either aligns you more closely with me or pulls you subtly away. Awake living requires intentionality. It requires you to slow down enough to observe your own patterns. It requires you to examine your motivations. It requires you to ask, why am I doing this? What is shaping this response? But do not confuse awareness with anxiety. You are not meant to obsess over every detail. You are meant to remain present. Presence is different from pressure. When you are present with me, you do not feel overwhelmed. You feel grounded. You move through your day with quiet attentiveness. You notice beauty. You sense guidance. You respond thoughtfully. My beloved, many people drift through life reacting to whatever demands the loudest attention. They chase urgency without evaluating importance. They fill silence to avoid discomfort. They numb themselves to escape pain. But you are learning a different way. You are learning to pause before speaking, to listen before deciding, to breathe before reacting, to pray before moving. This is awake living. It transforms ordinary routines into sacred moments. Driving becomes an opportunity for gratitude. Work becomes an expression of purpose. Conversations become spaces for love. When you live awake, you also recognize subtle warnings earlier. You feel when your peace begins to thin. You sense when your priorities shift out of alignment. You notice when your heart grows restless. And instead of ignoring these signals, you respond. You return to me quickly. Living awake does not mean you will never stumble. It means you will not remain unaware for long. You will catch yourself sooner. You will adjust faster. You will recover quicker. There is joy in this awareness. When you are awake, you experience life more fully. Colors seem brighter. Conversations feel deeper. Gratitude flows more naturally. You begin to see my fingerprints in places you once overlooked. A sunrise. A moment of laughter. A quiet answer to prayer. A door closing that protects you. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that I am actively involved in your life. My beloved child, do not slip back into autopilot. Do not allow routine to dull your spirit. Stay attentive. Stay curious. Stay connected. Living awake keeps your heart tender and your mind clear. It guards you from drifting. It strengthens your relationship with me. It sharpens your discernment and deepens your gratitude. And as you continue walking this way, you will find that life feels less like something you endure and more like something you participate in. You are not meant to sleepwalk through your calling. You are meant to live fully aware, fully present, fully aligned. Stay awake, my beloved. I am moving in your life more than you realize. My beloved child, when you live awake, when you guard what you receive, when you choose me first and walk in renewed strength, something begins to happen that reaches beyond you. You become light. Not because you try to shine, not because you strive to impress, but because when you remain connected to me, my light flows naturally through you. You may not always see it. You may feel ordinary. You may think your growth is small. But to someone walking in darkness, even a small light changes everything. There are people watching your life more closely than you realize. They notice how you respond under pressure. They observe how you handle disappointment. They see the difference between who you used to be and who you are becoming. When you remain peaceful in chaos, you shine. When you forgive instead of retaliate, you shine. When you trust instead of panic, you shine. When you choose integrity over convenience, you shine. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply reveals what is true. You do not have to preach loudly. You do not have to force conversations. Your transformed life speaks in ways words sometimes cannot. Your steady confidence raises questions in those who are anxious. Your hope unsettles those who are discouraged. Your gentleness surprises those accustomed to harshness. This is how influence works in my kingdom. It begins internally. When I restore your joy, others feel drawn to it. When I break cycles in your life, those around you notice the difference. When I strengthen your character, your presence carries weight. But hear me clearly, my beloved. Do not carry this responsibility with pressure. You are not responsible for saving everyone. You are responsible for staying connected to me. Light does not produce itself. It reflects its source. If you try to shine apart from me, you will burn out. If you attempt to inspire others without intimacy with me, you will grow weary. But when you remain rooted in my presence, light flows effortlessly. There will be moments when someone comes to you seeking advice. They will sense something steady in you. There will be times when your words encourage more deeply than you intended. There will be situations where your calm response shifts the atmosphere in a room. Do not dismiss these moments. They are evidence of my work in you. My beloved child, light is most visible in darkness. When culture grows anxious, your peace stands out. When division increases, your love becomes noticeable. When cynicism spreads, your faith becomes compelling. You may feel small compared to the vastness of the world's problems, but light does not need to be large to be effective. Even a single candle pushes back darkness in a room. Your obedience matters. Your consistency matters. Your private devotion matters. You never know which small act of faithfulness will become someone else's turning point. Perhaps a kind word you speak will prevent someone from giving up. Perhaps your example of resilience will inspire someone to trust again. Perhaps your testimony of restoration will give someone courage to return to me. This is the ripple effect of staying close. But remember, humility protects your light. If pride begins to grow, light dims. If you begin to believe the strength is yours alone, connection weakens. Always remember the source. Stay near me. Let gratitude keep your heart soft. Let love shape your motives. Let compassion guide your responses. My beloved, you are not just being restored for yourself. You are being refined for influence. Not influence built on popularity, but influence rooted in authenticity. Influence born from transformation. Influence that points beyond you to me. As you continue walking in alignment, your life will quietly testify that returning to me changes everything. And when others notice the difference, do not shrink back. Shine, not for your glory, but as a reflection of mine. Stay connected, and your light will never fail. My beloved child, never underestimate the power of one yes. One quiet, sincere, wholehearted yes to me can alter more than you imagine. It may feel small in a moment. It may not come with applause or recognition. But in the spiritual realm, in the unseen layers of your life, that yes creates movement. When you said yes to returning to me, something shifted inside you. When you said yes to surrender, a door opened. When you said yes to breaking old cycles, chains began to loosen. One yes started a ripple. Ripples do not remain where they begin. They travel outward. Your obedience influences your family and shapes your friendships. It affects the atmosphere in your home. It changes how you respond at work. It alters how you handle stress. Even your children, whether young or grown, will feel the difference in your stability. You may not see the full impact immediately, but consistency multiplies the ripple. Imagine a stone dropped into still water. The first circle is small, but it expands, touching places far beyond the initial splash. Your yes is that stone. When you choose trust over fear, someone watching you gains courage. When you choose forgiveness over bitterness, someone learns healing is possible. When you choose integrity over compromise, someone witnesses strength. You may never hear their thoughts. You may never know the full extent of your influence. But your obedience plants seeds in hearts around you. And beyond others, your yes reshapes your own future. Every decision aligns you further with my purpose. Every step in obedience adjusts your direction slightly. Over time, those small adjustments lead to entirely different destinations. You cannot always see how close you were to settling for less. You cannot always measure how far one act of trust moved you from a path of confusion. But I see it. I see the timelines shifting. I see the doors aligning. I see the protection unfolding. One yes can prevent years of wandering. One yes can restore relationships that were drifting. One yes can ignite purpose that was dormant. One yes can bring peace that anxiety tried to steal. My beloved child, sometimes you wait for dramatic transformation. You hope for a single moment that fixes everything at once. But often, transformation is built through repeated yeses. Yes today. Yes tomorrow. Yes when it is easy. Yes when it is uncomfortable. Each yes strengthens your alignment. Each yes deepens your intimacy with me. Each yes increases your confidence in my voice. Over time, obedience becomes less of a struggle and more of a rhythm. You no longer debate every instruction. You recognize my heart quickly. You respond without as much hesitation. You trust that even when you do not understand fully, I am leading you toward life. The ripple effect also touches generations. The cycles you break do not return to your children in the same way. The peace you cultivate becomes their example. The faith you practice becomes their reference point. Your yes today builds foundations for tomorrow. But do not carry this truth with pressure. You are not responsible for controlling every outcome. You are responsible for your yes. And your yes is powerful enough. My beloved, some of you feel your obedience has been unnoticed. You wonder if your small choices matter. You question whether your daily faithfulness makes a difference. It does. Heaven notices. I notice. And the unseen ripples are moving even now. Continue saying yes. Even when the results are not immediate. Even when the progress feels gradual. Even when no one applauds. Because one yes to me is never wasted. It carries momentum. It shapes destiny. It transforms hearts. Stay faithful in your yes. And watch how the ripples extend further than you ever imagined. My beloved child, you have walked with me through reflection, correction, surrender, renewal, and growth. You have seen how drifting happens. You have understood the power of returning. You have felt strength rising and clarity forming. Now we stand at the edge of a shift. This is not a shift forced upon you. It is a shift invited by your awareness. Everything I have spoken to you has been leading to this moment, a final, gentle but urgent call. Do not ignore what you now know. There is a difference between hearing truth and living it. You have heard my voice. You have felt conviction without condemnation. You have sensed the door of surrender open before you. But knowledge alone does not transform. Response does. This is your moment of response. You can walk away from this conversation inspired but unchanged. You can return to routine and slowly let urgency fade. You can allow distraction to creep back in and dull what feels sharp right now. Or you can decide that this is the turning point that lasts. My beloved, shifts happen when decision meets conviction. You already feel what needs to change. You already sense where you must guard your heart more carefully. You already know what obedience looks like in your current season. I am not asking you to overhaul your entire life overnight. I am asking you to commit. Commit to staying awake. Commit to choosing me first. Commit to guarding your peace. Commit to listening before reacting. Commit to trusting me in the unknown. The shift does not begin when circumstances change. It begins when you align your will with mine. Some of you are one decision away from freedom in areas that have bound you for years. One honest conversation. One act of forgiveness. One surrendered habit. One step of faith. You keep waiting for a dramatic sign, but the sign is already here. The stirring in your heart is the sign. The clarity forming in your thoughts is the sign. The discomfort you feel about staying the same is the sign. My beloved child, I will not force this shift upon you. Love does not coerce, but love does call. and I am calling you now. Do not settle for partial obedience. Do not return to half-free surrender. Do not compromise the peace you have begun to taste. You are stronger now than you were before. You are more aware. You are more aligned. You are more capable of walking steadily with me. But awareness requires reinforcement through action. If you sense that your time with me has been inconsistent, establish rhythm now. If you recognize patterns that need breaking, address them now. If you realize that fear has been guiding your decisions, replace it with trust now. The shift you desire is already available. You are not waiting on me. I am waiting on your yes. The final call is not about urgency rooted in fear. It is urgency rooted in love. I know what lies ahead of you. I know the opportunities, the challenges, the intersections waiting. I know how much smoother your path becomes when you walk closely with me. I do not want you stumbling through what could be navigated with clarity. I do not want you carrying weight that could be surrendered. I do not want you settling for survival when thriving is within reach. So hear me clearly, my beloved. This is the moment. Solidify what had been forming. Anchor what has been awakening. Seal what has been revealed. Do not delay again. Let this not be another temporary inspiration. Let it be the shift that holds. Because when you step fully into alignment, everything that follows adjusts. And the life you walk into next will reflect the decision you make now. My beloved child, we have walked a long path together in this moment. You have heard my warning. You have seen the subtle drift. You have understood the power of returning, the danger of delay, the strength within you, the cycles breaking, the importance of listening, and the beauty of living awake. Now I want you to hold one truth above all the others. Everything changes with me at the center. Not because your life suddenly becomes perfect. Not because storms disappear. Not because challenges never come again. But because when I am first, when my presence is your anchor, when your heart is aligned with mine, nothing can shake you the same way. The missing piece was never more effort. It was intimacy. The warning was never about punishment. It was about protection. You were never meant to carry your life alone. You were never meant to survive on your own strength. You were never meant to wander in quiet exhaustion, wondering why something felt off. You were meant to walk with me. When I am at the center, fear loses authority. Anxiety softens. Purpose sharpens. Peace deepens. Your mind steadies. Your heart strengthens. Your steps grow confident. Everything changes not because the world changes first, but because you do. And as you stand in this renewed alignment, understand this. What I have spoken to you is not only for you. There are countless others still drifting, still exhausted, still missing the one thing that changes everything. When you help carry this message further, through super thanks, through becoming a member, or through the PayPal link waiting in the description, and even shown in the QR code, you are not supporting a channel. You are sowing into souls. As it is written, those who sow generously will reap generously, and I declare that promise over you now. When you give, you become a river, not a reservoir. Your generosity becomes oil in another's lamp and light in someone else's darkness. This is your sacred moment of participation in my work. I bless the seed you release and I breathe increase upon it. Do not hold back when your heart is stirred. Step forward and sow, and watch the harvest I bring forth. My beloved child, stay close to me. Guard what we have restored. Choose me first again tomorrow. Listen for my voice in the quiet. Trust me in the unknown. Break the cycles that no longer belong to you. Shine without pride. Say yes without delay. And when you forget, return quickly. My arms are never closed to you. You are loved beyond measure. You are guided more than you realize. You are stronger than you think. You are never alone. Walk forward now in peace. Everything changes with me. Amen.